Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Intrapreneur Stories. I'm here not at the corporate itself, but I'm actually here at KBC Started at Tour in Taxis in Brussels. This time interviewing no one less than Seppe Van Sever. Hi Seppe.
Hi Andreas.
How are you?
I'm fine, I'm very fine.
So, you are the first entrepreneur at Luminus,
Yeah,
if
that's
I'm
true.
not mistaken.
Yeah, together with another colleague. Yeah.
Of course.
So we were in the first project. And I was there for the more commercial track, and then we had a colleague from EDF Luminus, and he was more working on the technological phase.
They have business and tech
Yeah,
merged together.
Yeah, and together with a consultant that already worked in startups and helped us to really work in a startup way.
Wow. So in the end, this concept that you work on, is it out there? Can we talk about it?
Yeah, we can talk about it. In fact, the idea was to make something that can predict when a central heating system will break down. Because at EDF Luminus, we are also working in energy services, so we maintain a lot of boilers. And we see that a lot of customers have a problem with their central heating system and they don't know when it will break down. We really made a device that you can plug on your boiler, and it will continuously measure everything, the outcome from your boiler, the performance, and when we see in the data that something is changing, we can say, okay, there's something wrong with the boiler. And then we can send a technician to take a look at it. And then from the input from this technician, we can make our algorithms better. So in fact, it's an IoT device together with an algorithm that can predict when your boiler will break down.
So what's it called now?
bCheck.
bCheck.
Yeah.
All right. But then looking at this structure, because it sounds like this was a very straightforward idea.
Mm-hmm.
It came very targeted.
Mm-hmm.
Was this the case, or was there maybe an open Spark session in which you...
The problem was there. We know that this is really a problem in the market.
But it wasn't probably the only problem.
No, indeed. But
there.
it is something that is really linked to the business of EDF Luminus. So we needed to find a solution for this one. But we also know that a lot of R&D departments or other companies are also looking for a solution for this one, and they were not able to find it. So it was really another way on how to find and develop this solution. So we just bought a second-hand boiler and we started to play with it, knock on it and so on, and then we found a solution on how to do this.
I guess this is a validated concept. Is that a good assumption to make?
It was not validated because the idea was also that we can make really a spin-off from EDF Luminus, so that the solution is not only for EDF Luminus but can also be sold to other companies or to B2C customers directly. So we really had to make our business case because EDF Luminus was not necessarily our customer.
And so at this point, where would you say the project landed?
We started last year, so we did quite some tests, technological tests. Then we said, okay, we have the IoT device that we can work with. We did a big test during the previous heating season. And now we want to scale up testing to really prove the algorithms, put them all, to fine-tune them. And that's for the next heating season.
Fantastic. I guess the most interesting part in this entire, of course, the concept itself and the process was probably already very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But looking at setting out this track for you being the first entrepreneur together with your colleague, how did that go?
Because I was then working 1 year for EDF Luminus as a pricing analyst, and they had the idea and they were looking for people that can execute it. And it was a new program. Okay, we will not execute it with the EDF R&D.
What was the pitch that they gave you at that point, or maybe to the entire company?
It was really simple. They just made a little flyer. They put it on the toilets and they said, okay, are you willing to start a new venture? Are you willing to work hard, test new ideas? Send an email to this email address. So that's what I did because there was not much information on it, and that's also the reason because I was very curious. Okay, what is this in fact? And then I applied for it.
And then going into the next step, what was the follow-up on that? You sent an email,
and then we had an interview, 2 interviews I think, and then they said, okay, Seppe, you can go. So that was great, and I think 3 weeks later I started. So I quitted my job in fact, and they found a replacement for me, and I started here at KBC Started on a new project full-time.
And then looking at the structure, because looking at bundle, that sometimes elaborates or works on implementing an incubator program within a corporation, it's not always an easy task, because you need a lot of resources at that point. You need the right infrastructure, you need the right input, and also you need to see the trade-off between your business as usual, in this case your pricing analyst position, and then the entrepreneurship. How did that become to be what it is now? How did you...
Yeah, first of all, we were the first one, so it already changed the structure. But of course, they needed to find a replacement for me. So together, HR and the innovation department, they looked for a replacement. Once they had it, they put me over here, and I was full-time working on this project. But of course, there are a lot of people from EDF Luminus that are interested. Okay, what are these guys doing over there? And therefore, we had our innovation manager that was able to block some questions so that we can really work on this venture over here. And every 3 months we go back to EDF Luminus to go to the board and explain what we did and ask to get some more budget or more time to work on the idea. So there, the idea was really, okay, put it out of EDF Luminus, block some questions, and let them work over there. And we will see what come out of it.
It's already a bold move for a company like that to say, let's do it elsewhere, because I can imagine a lot of company privacy or a lot of censored information cannot be put out there. So
indeed, but we also work with another laptop, so we're not linked on the system of EDF Luminus. We cannot use the brand EDF Luminus. We cannot contact EDF Luminus customers. So it's like really a startup, and we try to limit the contact with EDF Luminus.
And in terms of resources that you were given at that point, let's say customer validation, did you get like a group? How much in terms of budget? Of course, you don't have to mention the exact amount, but just to get an idea, a good estimation of what for them was a good amount for a pilot version of an entrepreneur.
Yeah, well, what they actually did, they gave us a laptop, they gave us a credit card with a few €1,000 on it, and they just said, okay, test it, validate the idea, and go for it. And that's it. And then we had someone, Sebastian, that already worked in other startups, that helped us to really work in a startup way.
An entrepreneur,
a real entrepreneur, and he helped us to get a startup way of thinking, because it's not you're not fixed on one task. You need to do a lot of things, and that's really great. In the beginning, it's a little bit looking and searching. Okay, how do I need to do this? But in the end, it worked out. And
it's a different mindset, of course.
Yeah, of course.
But you would recommend it as well to maybe other firms to say, get your people trained on the job,
and also let them learn by themselves, because you can go to workshops and so on. But in the end, if you do it by yourself and you fail and you do it again and you go further like this, you learn the most. Yeah. So it's really, you need to do it. It's not workshops are interesting and it can be good to start it, but in the end, you need to do it and fail as quick as possible.
Yeah, that kind of somewhat already answers my next question, which is looking at a company itself in terms of preparing for an entrepreneurship program. How do you go about that, or maybe prepare your employees to already get some entrepreneurial mindsets?
How they did it at EDF Luminus, they first started with a platform and they were looking for new ideas, because in the energy sector a lot will change. We all know it, and they said, okay, we have a lot of people working for EDF Luminus. They all have ideas, but it's not always easy to formulate them or talk to the right people and so on. So they said, okay, let's make a platform where you can put your ideas on it. Someone else can comment on it or can challenge it, and then you can adapt your idea and make it better and better and better and better. And then you can vote on the other ideas. So that's how they started to let people think about the business of EDF Luminus. So that was the first phase.
Okay.
And then the next phase was really doing it. So the first phase is really let people think about it, and then really start to do it.
All right. So that brings me to, related to that topic, it brings me to a question that we got from our previous Intrapreneur interview from Gilles Nimmergeers at the studio Belfius. He asked me, why would someone like you, choose to become an entrepreneur instead of an entrepreneur?
It's in fact, for me, it was all natural, because I was was working at EDF Luminus, and I really choose to work in the energy sector because it's a sector that is changing. And I was a pricing analyst, which is a great job because you really see how the business of an energy player works. And then he came with this idea to start something new. And it was just there, it was really natural, and I was really intrigued, okay, why not? So it was not like, okay, I want to be an entrepreneur or intrapreneur, it was really the opportunity was there, and I was curious, and I just wanted to do it. And that's how it worked out.
Were there already aspirations before that in terms of startup life? Of course, the dress code is completely different. I see you enjoying wearing a t-shirt at this point, summer weather, but...
Yeah, there's already a big interest in startups, so I'm really following up the scene already quite some years, so I really follow it. But it was not that there was already the thing, okay, let's go for it. So now that there was the opportunity at EDF Luminus without taking risks, okay, why not? This is the most comfortable position you can have.
Yeah, of course, and you get the perks of both sides, let's say. And then looking at the entire structure is now there. You actually stepped out of bCheck, the project there. Mm-hmm. You're currently engaged in the second one.
Yeah.
How many parallel tracks are currently running at the same time?
There are now already, I think, 6-7 tracks.
6-7 tracks?
Yeah.
And before that, let's say in the first round, were there already parallel tracks?
In the first round, we were with two groups. The first group stopped after 3 months, so we went further. And then after 3 months, already another group joined. So, and then 3 months later, another group. And now they started with 2 or 3 groups extra. So there are quite some people working on new ideas with EDF Luminus.
So it's not, let's say, a start date where everyone gets started at the same time. It's continuously adding.
Yeah, because it's quite difficult to put people out of their position because you have a job and you need to find a replacement. And if it's easy to find a replacement, then it's good, and then you can start quite quick. If that's not the case, then it will take some more time. But the good thing is everybody can be replaced, so everybody can join this program.
I wonder if HR at that point got their own separate entity saying that, okay, all the different gaps that we get due to these entrepreneur stories, then maybe we should get a task team just focused on quickly filling out those. You don't know that by any chance?
I have no idea.
What else in terms of corporate changes did you see after the launch of this Intrapreneur platform?
For EDF Luminus?
Yes.
I see, because we were the first group that started with it. And it was also a test for them. And now, it's more professionalizing because the second team, it's easier for me as well. I now joined a new ID and it went also quicker. So we see everybody's learning, we are learning, EDF Luminus is learning on how to do it quicker and better. So we see that there's a change.
And in terms of how far can you go from your current business? Because of course you always have to make the choice, are we going to implement incremental innovation? Mm-hmm. Like augment current services, stay very close to the current market? Are you going into adjacent markets, which is, let's say, pretty much what you're doing at this point, or with bCheck? But is there possibility of going completely into new unknown territory for the corporation?
At this moment, not really. But it's broader than the energy market. So we're EDF Luminus is an energy player, but also a service provider. So it's not, you don't need to make a new energy solution, but it's also not that you can start to do something in, fresh and healthy food. But maybe you can do something in mobility, because mobility is electrified. Yeah. So maybe there is a link there with EDF Luminus again. So
those sectors seem to get closer to one another.
So it's quite broad, but I think a new healthy food solution will not be put in.
It has to be somewhat a long-term strategy. Yeah. And in terms of let's say cross-company joint corporate ventures,
we're exploring
at this point.
Yeah, we are exploring to work together with other companies, other big companies. So it's something that is being explored now today.
Yeah. Okay, so definitely a lot of interesting times for Luminus. And then looking at yourself, that is always my favorite question to ask. What would you do differently if you could do it all over again?
Oh, that's.
And at that point, it can be not even not solely focused on the trajectory that you perceived, or even looking before, maybe starting at Luminus, would you have applied for a different position? Would you have did different things there? Maybe already pushed entrepreneurship, or even before applying?
I think for me it was great to start at EDF Luminus because, and really as a position as pricing analyst, because you really get to know the business, and you can also. And there you can also already be an entrepreneur because you can start with new ideas. You can say, okay, maybe this business model can work better, but it's still within the pricing, not pricing, but the sale of energy to residential customers. But you can already play with it. And then by working here at KBC Started, I think the thing that I would have changed, I would have gone quicker to the market. To test and validate the idea with real customers.
Yeah.
Because we had a technical solution, but it's not because you have a technical solution that you cannot already go to the market. And we waited there 2-3 months before really going into the market.
So you actually already made a prototype,
working
prototype.
We were not yet sure if we were able to make it, because we knew a lot of companies were working on it. So we said, okay, maybe we first need to test if we can make it or not. And then we went in the market, so after 2 months. But now, if I look back at it, maybe the first thing before trying to make it, really go to the market, try to sell the product, and then really develop it. So that is maybe a thing that I would have changed. Yeah.
We have a famous saying at our company, always under the term "fake it till you make it." So in terms of providing a new service, creating mock-ups, creating a very nice story that appeals to people. And see what needs to be changed. So indeed, that's a very good takeaway. I hope you have or you take that takeaway in your next challenge and future endeavors, of course. That brings us to my final question, which is actually allowing you to ask a question to our next entrepreneur. What is maybe one topic that keeps you up at night? What urgent question do you have that you like to see answered by a fellow entrepreneur from a different company?
Maybe because in a startup you learn a lot of things, a lot of new skills, and the big question is how can you bring it back to the corporate, to the big company? How can you bring all the skills back to the big company?
The startup knowledge that you have.
Yeah. What is the most efficient way to?
And then in terms of coming back into the company and have the freedom to work there, or more?
But it's also to what I personally learned here, how to give it to the people. Working at a big corporate company. How do you motivate them to work in the same way?
Inspire them as well, trigger them to make the same step, learning step. Okay, no, that's a very good question. I'll hope we'll get a very good answer on that in 2 weeks from now. So, to that extent, I would like to thank you once more, Seppe.
Thanks, Andreas.
Good to have you on the show. Thank you for watching, being here with us again. Please, if you haven't already, subscribe to our YouTube channel on Bundle. Hit that notification bell to stay updated on all the latest interviews. Also check out the podcast if you haven't, if you're on the road and want to listen to some audio features of the entrepreneur stories. Thank you very much and see you in 2 weeks from now.